Hi boys and girls, this is Mrs. Andriasi here. I am recording this tutorial on coloring techniques from my master bathroom because it's the only place in my house where I can do any work without being interrupted. And to be honest, my kids still might interrupt me while I'm doing this. Now, if you are watching this video and doing your work independently, give yourself a nice pat on the back. But if there is an adult or someone older in your family there helping you right now, like mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, big brother or sister, babysitter, give them a big hug because they really, really deserve it. Now, most of you have already done either your seascape drawing or your self-portrait. Self-portraits were for kindergarten, seascapes were for first and second grade. If you accidentally did the wrong one, no big deal. If you didn't do those yet, I'd like you to just go back to the assignment I had posted for the first week and just watch that and go ahead and draw it. What we're going to do today is I'm just going to run through a few different coloring techniques of ways that you can use materials that you might have in your house. I went through my own kids' art bin just to see what she had because I'm home now, so I don't have any of that fancy art room stuff. So, some basic stuff that we have in the house. Crayola markers. Some colors here, some colors missing. Watercolor paints. Not in the best shape. And some crayons. So the first thing we're going to start with, because this is probably the most common material that my students all have in their house, are crayons. Now, if you don't have any of these materials in your house, that's okay. Just take a pencil or a pen and just add some texture or some patterns to your project and it will still look beautiful. But if you have any of these, I'd like you to try some of these techniques. So, first things first, I'm going to show you how to add texture to your drawing with crayon. So let's say that you are doing texture like grass or hair. So I'm going to be showing you these techniques inside of circles so that you can apply them to any area of any kind of drawing. So one thing you can do with crayon to add texture is to draw textures harder and then color lighter on top. So this could be like strands of hair. You could do this with little blades of grass, like if you have seagrass in a seascape or grass in the background of a self-portrait, or if you have short hair in your self-portrait. You can do this, you can do little dots or stippling. This is great to add texture to sand or the ground, maybe even like a bumpy rough surface on a shirt. So these are some different techniques you can add for texture, maybe even for curly hair or, a fleecy fluffy shirt. You could do something like this and then color on top of it. So coloring darker or drawing darker with the texture and then coloring light on top really adds a lot of visual interest to a piece instead of just doing the standard, coloring flat, which is fine, but, we want to try some new things. The next technique I'm going to show you is blending multiple colors together. This is really nice for showing variations in hair, for making an interesting background, or for doing some really beautiful variations in color in the sky or in the ocean. So I'm going to show you this with some analogous colors. Analogous colors are colors that are sort of next to each other on the color wheel or the rainbow. So I'm going to do blue, violet, blue, green, and blue. Now, you might not have a nice full set like this. My daughter's Grammy brought her some new crayons from Hobby Lobby the other day. Typically, we have a half-broken mess of crayons, so just use what you have. So I'm going to start out by coloring with my blue violet. Now, I always like to outline the edge of something first and then color it because it helps me stay inside the boundary. That might work for you as well. Now I'm going to color a little bit darker on the edge, and I'm going to gradually start to get a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to switch to the next color. So if you think about the rainbow, blue violet is kind of like indigo. So the next color would be a blue. And I'm going to just sort of color and overlap those areas. And you get sort of an in-between, or in fancy words in art, we call this a tertiary color. And then I'm going to kind of switch into my blue-green. This is a really fun thing to do, even if you're just doodling with crayons. So if you are stuck in your house and it is raining out, this is a really fun thing to do. Parents too. Now, so we have our textures and we have our gradients. The next thing that I want to tell you is that adding patterns within your picture with lines and shapes and colors and things like that is going to add a lot more interest than just simply coloring things flat. Now, another thing, if you're doing a self-portrait, if you don't have, tans or peaches or blonde colors or certain browns or blacks that you would need for your hair, you can color your skin green. You can color your hair purple. You can do anything you want. You can be like a fauve artist. Fauve artists like to make people with green and purple skin. No one says that you have to make yourself look like you look in real life. So I'm going to show you with marker a couple quick techniques. One thing really quick with marker, if you are using the wider ones like I am here, try not to color on the tippy tip of it unless you're in a tiny, tiny area. That will dry your marker out super fast. What you want to do is, like I said before, with basic coloring, outline first, and then turn your marker on its side, on this little side of the cone, and just go in one nice smooth stroke. You don't have to go back and forth over and over again, because first of all, that tires out your hand. And second of all, that is going to wind up drying your marker out. Now, if you have markers and they're getting a little dry, I'm going to tell you a tip. Get a plastic cup, not one that you're planning on drinking out of, like a one you can throw out, or an old yogurt cup or something like this, and just put them in their tip side down on the counter in water, and just leave them there for a little while, and it actually rehydrates the marker so it works a little longer. Don't feel like you have to go to Michael's. In fact, right now you shouldn't and probably can't, because I'm pretty sure the government shut it down. But just use what you have. The next thing I want to show you is how to do blending two colors. So with this, we do the outline, and then as you get toward the middle, just try to do it a little lighter. So it's a little harder to control the value or how light or dark you use a marker, but it is possible. And then you would do your orange and just go right on top, and now you get kind of a nice sort of sunset effect, okay? And just, if you want to do things with textures with marker, it is possible, but it's a little tricky to, like I said, control coloring light with it. So what you could do there is you could pick another color that's similar or analogous or next to it on the color wheel or the rainbow, and you could color in there. I usually don't recommend picking a color that's really different from it, because it'll smudge your marker. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you really quick, because this video is getting a little long, is going to be some painting techniques. So, watercolor paints. Disaster. When you are doing your painting, we've talked before about basic painting in class. Sometimes it's nice to outline first with a color of crayon. You can use black, or you can use white and let it be a resist, which means it pushes away from it. Or you can outline with another color if you want. You can also add some textures in there. So I'm going to add some white textures in here. And then I'm going to paint, whoops, on top. Well, that didn't turn out very good. And I'll tell you why. Oh, there we go. I didn't have enough water on my paintbrush because I'm rushing. But you see how when I have more water on, you can see the texture show up? And then I just want to show you some blending. Okay, so again, always pick colors that are analogous or next to each other on the color wheel or in the rainbow. So like we talk about Roy G. Biv a little bit. Okay, maybe my kindergartners might have talked about that a little bit in class. Red and orange are next to each other, so they blend together very nicely. You can even take a little bit of your brush with water on it and go back in and blend. Sometimes people like to do dry brushing techniques on top as well. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Sorry, it was a little funny and a little rushed. I hope that you are enjoying this extra time at home with your family, and I really miss you guys and can't wait to see you soon.